God, stop saying vegetables on plate. I don't know why I keep on saying that.
Shut up and listen to the songs.
Hello and welcome back to Shut Up and Listen to the Songs with me, Ben Wilson, your accessible, friendly podcast for all things good listening. So this is the last episode in the opening suite of episodes about how to get into and set up your sound system, especially your record collection or your vinyl system. So I've taken us through what a sound system is. I've taken us through why you should be listening to your records or your music on vinyl. You're listening for pleasure, and I've talked about some of the records that I would recommend if you were starting off with a collection. So to wrap up these series of episodes, I would just like to do a quite brief one about where you can be purchasing your records. I find that the collecting experience is as much part of the joy as the listening and the enjoyment from the records itself. So I think it's really important just to take a moment to think about how we buy our records. Just to touch back briefly on the records that I recommended in the previous podcast, if you managed to listen to me wanging on for ages about the wonderful drumming on Joni Mitchell's Quartz and Spark, thank you for doing that. I put all of those records there as I thought that they would be accessible, both in regards to how you listen to them and also the fact that they should be reasonably available. There shouldn't be anything that's too long out of print that you'd have to go to crazy sums of money for that. Because like anything, you can go super budget or you can go high-end deluxe, and your mileage on what's better will definitely vary depending on your circumstances. And so when we're thinking about where we want to purchase our records from, I think the first place to start for, or maybe the most budget-friendly place, could be charity shops. I must admit, I've not been record shopping in charity shops for quite a while. I probably have had my fill for my lifetime of flicking through Glenn Miller, Engelbert Humperdinck, all the old cheesy, croony, country and western-esque singers. Bobby Darin. No, not Bobby Darin. I like Bobby Darin. Anyway, loads of the really old stuff that, unfortunately, not many people are going to want to listen to. And you can occasionally find a gem in there. What I find, however, though, is that with the resurgence in the popularity of vinyl, a lot of the good stuff that gets given to charity shops, that gets sent off to the charity's eBay store, or it gets sent to a specialist record collector, and that the stuff that is in your high street charity shop, it doesn't have much good. Not to say that I've never got a good record from a charity shop, but yeah, by and large, I think you're really going to have to be incredibly lucky to get something that you'll cherish forever there. But sticking with the high street, there are lots of physical retailers that are selling vinyl at the moment. I even believe some supermarkets are selling vinyl. I think some Sainsbury's sell a vinyl, which I love the idea of, popping down for some bread milk and some Ziggy Stardust. The obvious place to go on the high street is a big store like HMV. They've got FOP, which stock vinyl, and you can even get it in lots of lifestyle places like Urban Outfitters. The advantage to going to a store is that you can see what you're buying. You can be surprised by the random things you'll come across, and you can get some good value there. I think HMV do 3 records for £66. So if a deluxe record was £30, that makes it £22 each. That makes it slightly more affordable, and another advantage to going to a high street store like that is that you'll get all of the new releases the day they come out. They'll be there and you can just go and pick them up. I'm not adverse to browsing in my local HMV on a lunch hour, because there may be something that I've not considered. It may be there, and if I want it, I'll go for it. As with everything these days, your online options really do spread far and wide, and you've got a huge choice of online retailers for vinyl. Classically, you've got your eBay option, which you would be able to find something secondhand, very very unique and limited, out of print, or something super rare. However, of course, you're therefore competing with everybody else who may want a copy of that. And so, as with everything you buy on eBay, you could find a bargain or you could buy a pup. There's of course the Evil A. I'm not going to be hypocritical and say I've never bought records from the large online retailer. I do try and swerve it at all, if at all possible. Tons and tons of other online retailers. I really can't touch them all. Just a couple that I would like to touch on, that I have found to be quite useful in the past. There's WH Smith's. Their online offering for vinyl is quite extensive, and it's also quite good value in a way that really took me by surprise. There were a few years ago where you would kind of get a gradient of discount the more you bought, which for somebody like me was just absolutely awful. And while I don't think they do that, I would say that they've actually got quite a extensive selection of live vinyl. So if it's one of your favourite bands, there may be a grey release. So this is something that's been put out, pressed in small numbers, put out by a third party label, probably without permissions, probably not paying the royalties properly. They may be ripping an online copy of the music if there is an online concert, but that's quite different and unique and can be quite niche if you're looking for that extra level of your favorite band. Another online retailer that I would make you aware of is Rare Waves. They've currently got a really extensive records under £15 section, and another really good thing that they do is they've got so many of Neil Young's live albums. I'm currently discovering if it's possible to have too many Neil Young live albums, and at the moment the answer is an emphatic no. So that's great. The most independent online space is probably Discogs, which you may have heard of when people are talking about rare and valuable records. And basically, it's a marketplace for independent record stores where they can post their stock online. You can therefore, in theory, visit every independent record store that there is out there, see what they've got. You can chat to the owner, you can ask for more photos, you can do all of these things, and I have used Discogs to buy some quite rare records. There was a particular one that I was giving as a gift to a friend, and I wouldn't have been able to find it I wouldn't have been able to find it physically in a high street. For me, it was worth it for that very one-off, that super bespoke thing that I really wanted. But as with all things online, you're taking a bit of a risk. So ultimately, what I really, really recommend for you to go to get your records is an independent record shop that's local to you. There's nothing like the experience of physically flicking through a browser rack, finding something that you've either been looking for or finding something that piques your curiosity. It's a wonderful experience speaking to and meeting the owner of the shop or the patrons. They're also more likely to have incredible bargain bins. They usually sit beneath the main browsing racks, and sometimes I've found just absolutely wonderful things that if you're starting out on a record adventure, you'll need these. So these are your Harvests, your Bridge Over Troubled Waters, your my mind goes blank. All of those albums that were just produced by the absolute truckload back in the day, that there's no need to spend stupid money on a modern reissue. You can just hoover them up, put them on, enjoy them, love them, have a really, really great time. So yes, I really do implore you to get down to your local record store. It's the best place for your records, and in some ways, I think of it like if you really loved animals and you wanted to watch an animal in the wild, in their natural habitat, rather than, say, for example, in a zoo. There's no record collector who tells wonderful anecdotes about how a record got delivered to their house and they had a wonderful insight into the human condition with their delivery person, as much as they do love their records when it arrives, obviously. So yes, there's also other really wonderful benefits with buying your records secondhand. Obviously, it could well be good for your wallet, depending on what you're buying compared to the cost of those records brand new. It's really good for your ears in that you'll find wonderful things that you'd never considered before. It can take you off down really brilliant paths of discovery and development. And also, as well, it's really good for the environment because, let's face it, for each record you buy secondhand, that's potentially one new record with its energy costs that's not being produced. So yeah, that concludes the opening suite of episodes for Shut Up and Listen to the Songs. As I say, it's kind of unique because it's starting out on my journey, but also if you're new to vinyl, then it's starting out on your journey. I'm going to have more of a regular show. I'm going to try and do them once every couple of weeks in a more of a magazine format, and yeah, I'm going to try and mix it up in regards to the sorts of things about, A, where I am, and B, get some other voices on here as well, which should be quite nice. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. I've decided to get an email address. I love the idea of having an equivalent of Gardener's Question Time where people write in and say, "Oh, dear Ben, I've got a problem with my setup in that I'm getting too much fuzz in the left speaker," or people who are a bit bored with their current selections. They would like some different vegetables on their plate. I've got to stop saying vegetables on plate. I don't know why I keep on saying that. So the email address, if you would like to get in touch and say anything at all, is shut up and listen to the songs, all one word, at gmail.com. And also, I have decided to go social in that the podcast has a Instagram account. You can find us at Shut Up Listen Pod, which we'll have to see how well that trips off the tongue in future. But that will be there, and I'll be posting all the records that I'm currently listening to, currently buying, where my record pursuing adventures take me. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Do take care.
Bum, 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 bum. Shut up and listen to the songs.